What's up, everybody? I want to do an update video on the uranium current state of affairs, the uranium market, the nuclear energy landscape, and what I think's going on. I'm a big proponent of UR energy, but there's a lot of good uranium companies out there. Of course, Cameco, the big one. Also a big fan of Energy Fuels. And then you got Denison Mines, Fission, Uranium Energy, Core, and so on. Kind of frustrated. For example, UR Energy has dropped after they had that equity raise for 12 million shares at 50 cents a piece. The stock today touched at 44 cents. Not really understanding that. I was told that there was a contract that didn't get paid, that got deferred. I highly doubt that UR Energy is going to name that utility, knowing that they're going to get paid in a future quarter, but maybe that has something to do with it. But I'm going to talk about a lot of things, not so much UR Energy in this video, but nuclear energy. What's the state of affairs? Well, it's an election year. Most of the potential candidates are pro-nuclear. Sanders is not. So I wouldn't vote for him. But anyway, there's a lot of good things coming out. I've noticed a lot of positive things have been hitting the wire. There's been write-ups about how the United States keeps pumping money into nuclear development and everything, and this is all good and stuff. But also how we have the safest measures, and we've increased the safety standard, and the bar is so high based on our oversight committee and everything. But my concern with the United States is we've got 4 operating mines. I believe it's 2 Cameco, 1's Energy Fuels, and 1's UR Energy. With the uranium spot price so low, we're kind of suffocating what is going to protect us. And what I mean by that is China has got an 8-year lead on us, okay, for tech. It is. Effects don't lie. They're 8 years ahead of us. What I think is going to happen when Bill Gates creates that 4th generation reactor, and if it's successful, which I believe it will be, in 2023, the Chinese are basically going to use their influence for clean energy and create a monopoly around the world. And basically, I think they're going to go to all these third world countries, what they're already getting their foothold in. They're going to build the reactors for nothing. They're going to say, look, we're going to build this reactor for you. You're going to have cheap energy. You're going to have clean energy. You're going to meet your CO2 emissions goals as we want, is on par with what you want. And all we ask in return is we make 2 cents a kilowatt. Whatever you charge is on you, but you're going to kick back 2 cents, and they're going to have them sign like 50-year contracts. But they're going to build the reactor for free. That troubles me because the U.S. is just sitting around. The government's looking to the private sector for development. The private sector is afraid to come up with the funds and look to the government as the ones that should be stimulating, nuclear growth. And basically, there's no resolve. And even knowing in 2019 there's going to be 2 brand new reactors. What are they? The AP 1000s or something. Coming online in Georgia. I think that'll make a big statement and will show people how important nuclear energy is. It's been important. It's what's helped us prosper as a country. We were the forefathers, the ones that, you know, and still do have the most nuclear reactors. I think right now we're at 99. I know they just started one up in Tennessee, and I know there's a couple old ones that are coming offline, and new ones that are like 4 coming offline, and 5 are being added to the mix by 2020. But my concern is that we aren't outsourcing, we're not taking advantage, and you know, sharing our knowledge and getting contracted to help develop, create, build, and provide oversight for these nuclear reactors that the Chinese are doing. And what I see happening is the Chinese are going to get a firm lock on the world energy with Russia supplying them the uranium. I see us going to where we can, use fission. I see us being able to reprocess nuclear waste, which is what Bill Gates is behind, and many other leading scientists. Of course, the United States doesn't reprocess any other waste. They just sit on it knowing that it's viable, but they don't want to take the lead on it. Well, we're letting the Chinese do it. The Japanese reprocess their nuclear waste. France has been doing it. And speaking of France, France is a great example just to prove to the naysayers how you can reduce your CO2 emissions. Did you know for the last 30 years, France has successfully reduced their CO2 emissions because they've relied on nuclear, and they've had excess of electricity. That's why they sell it to Germany, and been so successful. France has laid the blueprint, but kind of in the dark. It's there, but people aren't really paying attention. But everybody's paying attention to Germany, and I kind of was disgruntled when, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Germany was making this big push to renewables and trying to, fade out their nuclear and take them offline and stuff. But what's going on with Germany is they're creating just enough energy, but they're kind of riding the rail, and with the human population at 7 billion moving to 10 billion, and by 2030 I think it is, and then that to double again by 2050. To me it looks like a system destined to fail, and then because the sun doesn't shine every day of the year. I think on average, just based on the United States studies, I think we average 210 days a year of good sunlight. And then your renewables say, well, that's why we rely on wind too, because when it's storming and wind, and dark, we turn on to the wind. Well, it takes a long time to build up that kind of energy into the grid, and it's very, very expensive. That's why the solar industry has survived strictly on subsidies from the government and makes them viable. It's not because of their profit margin or anything. But I think that Germany is going to show everybody here, probably in about, I would give it 2 to 3 more years, where because they turn off and on their natural gas reactors, and that creates a lot of CO2 emissions. But I also see that their population is going to outgrow their ability to use electricity, and they're going to have blackouts and everything. And because they don't want to include nuclear, but they're willing to go to coal, and they're willing to go to natural gas. And I just think it's going to be the feather in the Joe Nuclear's hat that's been saying all along, you got to go nuclear as a baseload, because without it, blackouts and energy, uh, you know, separation and disconnect and shortages will result, because you can't try to take a step forward with renewables if you keep plugging in natural gas and coal, because it's basically for every step you took forward with the renewable, you're taking 2 to 3 steps back by turning to those as your baseload. I am happy that it seems like more and more environmentalists and more of the scientific community are realizing that, and being able to get their voice out with multimedia and the way the world is all connected. Um, you know, Nuclear energy is basically the best. It's got the best technology. It's got the best benefits. It's the cheapest energy. But what about those costs? Well, if you got rid of all the red tape and the permit, and I think it takes almost 20 years to permit in the United States, which is a joke because it's based on first generation reactors, where we haven't caught up to the times. And you look at the Chinese, and they're permitting and building a reactor in like 5 to 6 years. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's on the third generation blueprint, not a first generation blueprint. So we really need to get rid of that. We need to get rid of all this propaganda and just, hell, tax. If you got CO2 emissions as a utility, tax them. And you'll see the difference, and the benefits of nuclear when you're paying for the CO2 emissions and it comes out of your wallet, So I'm not too panicking or worried or stressed about the current state of affairs with the U308 spot price. I'm more excited about 2017, 2018. I think it comes to a head in 2019 where the market is just out of control. And all the uranium stocks, which aren't many, they're just, again, concentrated on the United States. You don't have many to choose from because this bear market of the last 6 years has pretty much destroyed a lot of the exploration companies. It's really made the industry a real lean industry. And China's taken advantage of it. So we have to protect our own assets. We have to try to regain some type of foothold as a leader. And we need to, share with the world and be a part of the world's change to nuclear energy instead of just sitting idly by and watching China take over. Because China's taking over. They're going to get their uranium from Canada, Australia, and Russia. Russia will be, probably in a joint effort helping them with the manpower and everything. Nobody can compete with China. China's got the cheapest labor. China's got everybody owing them money. And they're basically going to say, hey, don't worry about that debt. Just, agree to this. They'll go to like Duke Energy and we'll build you a reactor for free. Just, you need to run to Congress and get them to sign off on it. And, or Chesapeake or any of these big, utilities. And, just give us our 2 cents a kilowatt. And then you can, price it accordingly to your economy and charge whatever you want. And it will still be relatively cheap. And I don't know. I'm going on a tangent. I'm not going off any notes. I'm just going off the few things I've been looking at over the last week or so. It's really, it blows my mind. Some of the arguments that these anti-nuclear people say, they say, well, solar is the best, but solar is extremely expensive. Solar emits a lot of CO2 emissions in the buildup of the materials that it takes to build a solar panel. And then in the life of it, 30 to 50 years of these advanced solar panels, when they're retired, what do you do with them? Do you bury them? No, that gets in your water. Do you burn them? No, that's bad for the ozone in the atmosphere. So what do you do? And it's the same thing when you build up these wind uh, turbines and whatnot. The materials that are used, I mean, it's crazy to me, how much coal is used, to build those things. So the argument is for not. And in regards to nuclear being so expensive to build, well, because of all the red tape, that's why it's expensive. If you get rid of all the bureaucratic bullshit, it wouldn't be nearly as bad. And that's why countries like, Saudi and UAE, they're paying $4 billion. Africa. See, this is the key. All these third world countries, in order for them to prosper, energy is the key. Okay, that's how you prosper. That's how the United States prosper. Granted, nuclear is our base load energy. Africa and China are your fastest growing populations. All these third world countries, though, China's recognizing, hey, we can help you prosper and into the industrial age and lower your CO2 emissions and, reap the benefits. And that's how they're going to take over. And the U.S. is just like, oh, not our problem. We're going to sit here and argue and come to a stalemate because nobody wants to put their foot down. So I hope our next president, if it's Rubio, Trump, or Hillary, in that order, that's who I got, really makes a stand and say, look, we're building the reactors. We already know historically the benefits of the reactors. That's not in doubt. There's safeguards you can put in place. Koreans have built reactors, third generation reactors that can withstand warheads. It's amazing. I've talked about that before. But I'm kind of embarrassed. We're just sitting on our morals. We're that big fat kid in the group that kind of let himself go, and while the other kids around us, the less privileged, are working their ass off and adapting and overcoming and pushing harder to do what they need to do to advance. And while we just sit there sucking on our lollipop and eating our ice cream cone and letting them do all the work. I mean, isn't that what our state of mind is here? So, I mean, I ain't worried too much about the uranium market right now. I know it's going to go up. It's just a matter of when. It's not if. And I've got a lot of conviction. I've had a couple of people ask me, you still in UR Energy? Hell yeah, I'm in UR Energy. It's not going away. It's a great company. And it's a good enough company that I don't think they'll allow themselves to be bought out because they've got strength in production and they've got their plan of attack for their other properties, and the building of the infrastructure in Wyoming and up in Canada, and with connections in Colorado because that's where they're headquartered. They're going to do just fine. So anybody that laughs, when I post on different blogs, well, you should look at uranium. Last laugh will be on you guys because we're going to a nuclear base load future. It's the only way we can succeed with CO2 emissions. The only way that solar and wind's got a chance to survive is if it's got a nuclear reactor providing the base load on its grid. That's all I got. I hope you found this video informative, but I tried to cover a lot of things. I went all over the place, but I'm very excited about the future. I got my investment back in 2014. Hell, was it early? Hell yeah, it was early. Wish I could have waited and bought right now everything, but no, I've been accumulating. I keep adding to my my foundation for what I think is going to be a hell of an investment, and I'm contributing to something that's I'm part of something that's important for the future of mankind. Leave your comments, subscribe if you want. I talk about other things, not just, uranium and nuclear energy, but I appreciate you watching, and I'm doing this video outside in the car because I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm sorry for the darkness, and Thanks for watching and take care. Bye.